Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Tim. I am the host of the Glass House News podcast. Today we're going to talk about a few different topics. We're going to talk about the Michigan judge that has allowed the Trump campaign access to 22 Michigan voting machines. We're going to talk about the constitutionality or unconstitutionality of the Pennsylvania mail-in ballot system. And finally, we're going to close the show with what is the safe harbor deadline and what that could mean for the Trump campaign. Before we get to the news, if you would please hit the subscribe button on this video, share it with your friends. I don't have a marketing team or a big fancy studio, so what that means is all my video traffic comes through you. So if you think that what I'm doing here is important, if you want to help contribute to me fighting the fake news narratives floating around the social media sphere, please share this video with your friends. The information I talk about on my show is important, and it's important that it gets disseminated. Our media tech overlords don't want you to know the things that I talk about. So it's important that you know them because it could sway the election. We already saw upwards of 17%, upwards of 20% of Biden voters would have voted for Trump had they known about a few different key stories. So with that said, let's get on into the news. So I want to open up today with something I came across. Oh, excuse me. With something I came across on Facebook. And I think this outlines where the headspace of the Republican Party is at well. It says, I tolerated 44 Obama for 8 years and kept quiet. Here's my issue with the whole let us be a United States again that we heard from Joe Biden. For the last 4+ years, the Democrats have gone scorched earth. You have salted the fields, and now you want to grow crops. Excuse me. The problem is 72 million of us have memories longer than a hamster. We remember the Women's March, vagina hats and all, the day after inauguration. We remember the 4 years of attacks and impeachment. We remember the not our president and the resistance. We remember Maxine Waters telling followers to harass us at restaurants. We remember the president's spokesperson being kicked out of a restaurant. We remember hundreds of Trump supporters being physically attacked. We remember Trump supporters getting doxxed and fired from their jobs. We remember rioting and looting. We remember a comedian holding up the president's severed head. We remember a play in Central Park paid with public funding showing the killing of President Trump. We remember Robert De Niro yelling, F Trump, at the Tonys and getting a standing ovation for it. We remember Nancy Pelosi's tearing up the State of the Union address. We remember, in total, the tank move on the mainstream media. We remember the nonstop and live fact-checking on our president and his supporters. We remember nonstop, in-your-face lies and open cover-ups from the media. We remember president and his staff being spied on. We remember 5 Republican legislators shot on Ball Field. We remember every so-called comedy show turn into nothing but Trump hate fest. We remember 95% negative coverage in the news. We remember the state governors asking and getting everything they ask for and then blaming Trump for their problems. We remember a Trump top aide verbally assaulted in 2 Washington, D.C. restaurants. We remember people banging on the Supreme Court doors. We remember that we were called every name in the book for supporting President Trump. We remember that Hollywood said they would leave after Trump was elected, but then they stayed. This list is endless, but you get the idea. My friends will be my friends, but a party that has been on the attack for 4 long years does not get a free pass from me. I think this accurately shows what the Republican Party is thinking right now. For the past 4 years, the Democratic Party has spent their time screaming and yelling, attacking, punching, biting, doing anything and everything they can to show how evil the Republican Party is. But now that their guys in power, all they want is unity. They want everyone to just sweep under the rug everything they've done for the past 4 years. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's not how this works. You don't get to throw a temper tantrum and then say, "I'm sorry, don't punish me." The Democratic Party is in for a reckoning. They've spent the last 4 years throwing the mother of all temper tantrums. They've hit their friends. They've punched us. They've kicked and bit and scratched their neighbors and all the other neighborhood kids that they didn't like. And now they want nothing more than to once again play on the streets of the neighborhood with us. Well, they're going to find the Republican Party is fed up with this nonsense, and they're not going to allow it to happen again, and they are not going to go out and play. Instead, they're going to play with their friends inside, where it's safe, where they won't get hit. And then the Democratic Party will say, "Where are all of my friends?" And they won't be anywhere to be found, because they spent the last 4 years hating and destroying everything in their sight. All right, I want to open up the news today with this article from Fox News published yesterday. I don't do the news on the weekends, so I gotta sort of recap all the weekend news on my Monday segment. So the title is "Trump Legal Team Celebrates After Michigan Judge Allows Probe of Dominion Voting Machines." This is a big one. A Michigan judge is allowing a forensic investigation of 22 Dominion voting tabulation machines in rural Antrim County amid claims that votes were compromised. Trump campaign attorneys celebrated the decision, although the case is not related to the presidential contest. Weird. Giuliani appears with witnesses alleging voter fraud in heated Michigan hearing. Our team is going to be able to go in this morning at about 8:30, so this was yesterday. And we'll be there for about 8 hours to conduct that forensic examination, and we'll have the results in about 48 hours, and that'll tell us a lot about these machines, Attorney Jenna Ellis said on Fox and Friends Sunday morning. So we should be getting the findings of this investigation as early as tomorrow. Actually, as early as tonight. We're likely to see tomorrow morning all the findings of this investigation come out. And I think what you'll see is, if the votes were compromised, then the Republicans are going to double down on their claims that the election was compromised and it was rigged. So a lot of people like myself, a lot of people like Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, will be milk toast fence sitters, as Tim Pool calls us. We'll say, there's a lot of smoke, but I don't know if there's a fire yet. Let's wait till there's a fire to claim election fraud. And then a lot of Trump supporters, I've gotten some of this feedback myself. When are you going to say there's not just smoke anymore? There's too much smoke for there to not be any fire. Well, depending on what this investigation says, we're going to find out very soon. So there's one of two outcomes from this. One, if this comes out that there was a fire, man, oh man, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow is the safe harbor deadline. After tomorrow, nothing else matters. Sort of. We'll get there in a moment. So tomorrow we'll figure out if there is actually a fire and whether or not it was widespread. And if it was, the Republicans will double down on their claims. The election was stolen. But if it comes out that the investigation shows, nope, everything's above board, everything's above water, which I don't know how they could, given the ridiculous level of uncounted votes and shifted votes from one candidate to another. If it comes out that everything is above water, everything is above board, then the Republican Party will say, okay, we're done. Or the vast majority of us will. Us. I say us. Them. I'm not a registered Republican. I'm a registered independent. I tend to agree with libertarian values more than Republican values. If it comes out that everything is above board, everything is above water, the Republican Party and people like myself and Tim Pool, who are saying there's a lot of stuff here, will say, okay, fair enough. Looks like Joe Biden's going to be our president. And I will pay him the same respect for the next 4 years that I demanded that the left pay Donald Trump respect for the next 4 years. I will not stoop to the level of the Democratic Party. And I will not go shoot up a congressional baseball game like the Bernie Sanders supporter. I'm not going to go and riot and burn down American cities like Joe Biden supporters, the Democrats. I'm not going to castigate everyone that I don't like as a bigot or a homophobe or a racist like the Democratic Party has. All I will do is sit here and say, no, you don't get to throw a temper tantrum and throw punches at your friends and then get upset that they won't play with you. That's not how this works. Take responsibility for your own actions. Apologize for the ridiculousness that you have caused over the last 4 years. The Republican Party will not spend the next 4 years trying to impeach Joe Biden for absolutely nothing. If they try to impeach Joe Biden, I guarantee you they will have evidence. They will show proof of said evidence. And it has to be something big. So big it will require bipartisan support. Though I don't think this will happen because the Democratic Party is bowing down at the feet of Joe Biden. All because Orange Man bad. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to see Obama light. If you didn't like the last presidency, the 8 years before Trump, why on earth would you return to that? They say the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, you've just elected Joe Biden, who has appointed all of the directors of his cabinet were the assistant directors of Obama's cabinet. Biden is simply Obama light, and we're going to see a return of the Obama presidency. And ladies and gentlemen, it will not be a pretty sight. And I think if Biden wins, Donald Trump will run in 2024 on the platform of, I told you so. And you didn't believe me. You laughed at me. But I told you so. Maybe next time you'll believe me. But the Republican Party won't spend the next 4 years trying to gain control of media outlets and control what information you see. The Republican Party will grow what small platforms it has. Blaze Media, Fox News, and Daily Wire. Really the three biggest Republican right-wing red news sources. Whereas the left really has a monopoly on information. They control Twitter. They control Instagram. They control TikTok. They control Facebook, MSN, ABC, CBS, CNN. When will we learn that monopolies are bad? The party that claims that monopolies are bad, the left, loves the fact that they have a monopoly on information. And so they are saying it doesn't matter that the judge has granted the Trump campaign 22 Dominion voting systems. They're not going to find anything. And if they do, the left-wing media will say, no, they're lying. There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Who are you going to believe? Me, your trusted media? The most trusted name in news? Or your own lying eyes? The left, they are gaslighting the American people. They are manipulating us because they don't want us to fight back. They want the power. They like the power that they have. And they will do anything to keep it. Including and up to lying to the American people on such a large scale that we have never seen before. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to take the red pill. Vote red, vote gold, vote green. I don't care. Just don't vote blue. They have spent the last 4 years showing they don't deserve your vote, including illegal election laws. This is just another evidence of the election being fixed. In Pennsylvania, the governor said, nah, go ahead. Mail-in ballots for everyone. Despite the fact that the governor doesn't have that ability. According to Pennsylvania law, and quite possibly more, I don't know, I haven't quite done the research that I need to do for this, but at least in Pennsylvania, only the state legislature has the right and ability and the power to make election law and to set election law. So what this means is the governor set a rule no one had to follow. It holds no power. The argument holds no water. This would be akin to some kid on the playground telling all the other kids, you can't play here. Sorry, we didn't elect you to set rules for us. We elected you to represent us. The bully on the playground does not get to set the rules where you can or cannot play. The teachers do. Or how about this? It would be like moving into a neighborhood where there is no homeowners association. And then all of a sudden, this random group of people in the neighborhood say, we're creating a homeowners association. You have to now follow our rules. No. I lived here before the homeowners association existed. I don't have to sign anything, and you can't make me. I don't have to follow any rules that you set. All of your rules are bunk. You don't get to tell me where I can and can't keep my trash can. You don't get to tell me how long I can keep up my Christmas lights, if I want to keep them up year-round, or if I don't want to put them up for Christmas at all. This is what the governor did in Pennsylvania. And so tomorrow, or today, one of the two, the Supreme Court is going to meet to decide on, was this law, was the governor providing mail-in ballots for the state unconstitutional? And what that means is we are now going to see a precedent for every other state in the union. And if this is the case in any other state, well, now all of their mail-in ballots are unconstitutional as well. So what does that mean? Well, election law in 2001, I believe, 2000, when it was Bush v. Gore, we saw a lot of votes were tossed out because we can't treat votes differently. Well, if you're treating mail-in ballots differently than day of ballots, all mail-in ballots across the nation will be thrown out, which will likely lead to a 49-state landslide for Trump, like we saw with Ronald Reagan in his re-election in 1984. We are getting to some crazy stuff, but none of this matters. Sort of. We'll explain that in a moment. A lot of this won't matter if it's not decided on by Wednesday. So today is Monday. Tomorrow is Tuesday, the 8th. The safe harbor deadline. The safe harbor deadline is upon us. This is National Review. On the menu today, as of tomorrow, under U.S. law, the 2020 presidential election is really, really, really over. But not really. Under something called the safe harbor deadline, the Supreme Court might weigh in on Representative Mike Kelly's suit, which aims to invalidate all the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania this year. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign's last-ditch efforts and attempts to sway legal legislatures continue in Arizona and Wisconsin with a consistent record of success. The 2020 election safe harbor deadline is almost here. Tomorrow, under U.S. law, the election results in each state become finalized under what is called the safe harbor deadline. The law declares that any completed and certified vote count made at least 6 days before the time fixed for the meeting of the electors, such determination made pursuant to such law so existing on said day, and made at least 6 days prior to said time of meeting of the electors, shall be conclusive and shall govern in the counting of the electoral votes as provided in the Constitution. Now, the Democratic Party has one big hurdle right here. If there are still contests in many of these states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, Arizona, Nevada, if there are still contests going on in these states by Wednesday, they can't certify their votes. We've seen some of these governors, like Pennsylvania, come out and say, nope, our votes are certified, there's no contest here, despite the fact that there being a actual legal contest by the Trump campaign. So I'm not sure how he can do that, but I'm sure the Supreme Court will figure it out tomorrow. So if there are contests in these states Wednesday, they can't certify their votes. It goes to a contested election. You now get a state representative vote in the House of Representatives, which is one representative per state, which is 26 to 24, with a Republican lead. And if it ties 25 to 25, Mike Pence is the tiebreaker. This is a spicy election. It's going to get crazy, and it's going to get even crazier. January is when both houses of Congress will meet to count the votes. And if anyone raises objections, well, then they have to vote on that. So this election's not quite over yet, even as of tomorrow. It's not quite over yet. There are still a number of issues to be resolved. Who knows what will happen? I don't. You don't. Anyone who tells you they know what will happen, they're lying. They're trying to sell you something. I've been entrenched in this every day since before the election. No one knows what's going to happen. And that is the thrill of the game. I'll be back tomorrow. Please, as I said at the beginning of this video, share with your friends. It is important that this information that I've shared with you today is shared as wide as possible. It is important that the dissemination of information grows, not shrinks. Please try not to burn down the country while I'm gone, and even if you do, I'll be here tomorrow to cover it. Have a nice day.